That's a very good question. I'm actually looking it up because that's a very, very good question. I
Ah,
don't know worldwide, so
okay.
so that's a very good question.
But
Yeah, I would
there's
say
different.
about 150, give or
Ah,
take, but it might be 300, so I'm looking it up. So let's go back to US chess, okay? Because we are
okay.
in the US and I want everyone to know how they can reach international arbiter, but first they have to start with the US. So if you're interested in arbitering, you first have to become a club TD. Club TD is the tournament director. In the US, we call it tournament director. Rest of the world call it they call them arbiters. So I'm trying to more and more purposefully use the word arbiter so that people actually get used to that word. But tournament directors, TDs is the proper word in the US. So when you want to TD, first of all, you are in a club TD. So all you have to do is sign a paper that you read a book of the US chess rules, which no one ever reads from cover to cover, but you know where to look up the rules and you start TDing. And at that time, usually you're not alone. Usually you have a mentor and you kind of learn from them, right? And I've mentored many, many TDs and they all start from club TD. Then after the club TD, you can apply to become a local TD. Local TD is super easy to apply to because all you need is three events. One event you have to be the chief arbiter, and then the other two you have to be the deputy chief arbiter or the chief assistant chief TD, and then you have to do a really easy test. It's a multiple choice exam. You have to pass it, I think, by 80% or 70% or something like that. That's an easy test, and then you're local TD. And then becomes a little bit a bigger task to step up. Next step is the senior TD. In order to become a senior TD, you have to have 10 credits, norms. We call them tournament director norms or arbiter norms. You have to have 10 norms in the US chess scene. Five of them you have to be the chief tournament director, five assistant chief, and you have to do a little bit of different um, roles. Like you have to have scholastic tournaments, you have to have tournaments with prize money and things like that. Okay. So it takes a little bit of time to collect those norms, but once you have those norms, you put those into a form and you apply to become a senior TD, and then you have to pass the test, and that's a really hard test. That's the hardest test of all the tests, honestly, and I failed it once. So it's a lot of people fail it. A lot of good TDs have failed that test. Okay, so no shame in failing these tests. Once you fail, you can reapply in 3 months. But once you have the senior TD, then you can start arbitering for FIDE tournaments. And then once you have the senior TD level, then you can apply to become a national arbiter, which is a nationally, so US chess or other countries, they handle their own national arbiters. And that's what it is. You are a national arbiter for your own nation, US chess, to hold FIDE events. Okay, national arbiters are really useful because you can start running FIDE
Oh,
events,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
So, and then once you are running a lot of national events, FIDE events, right? From national arbiter to FIDE arbiters, you need to have a certain amount of specific tournaments. And then you need to do the FIDE arbiter seminar, which is
Okay.
often offered online. So it's
Yep.
really relatively easy to take. And then from FIDE arbiter to international arbiter, you need to have specific events. These are norm events. So you have to be the deputy chief or the chief for those
Judith?
tournaments where players can earn norms like international master or the
Right.
grandmaster norms.
Is there a dress code for FIDE tournaments, or did that go by the wayside?
So, full disclosure, I wasn't at the World Rapid and Blitz where the Jeans Gate came out.
Yes.
That's because prior to Christmas, I was at in Oslo doing the final for chess.com, and right after New Year's Eve, I went to Charlotte to do the Pan Ams. So I needed that time. So I actually declined to work at the Rapid and Blitz because I needed some time with my family. So
Uh,
um, regarding dress codes, obviously every player has the rules, right? The rules are written relatively clearly, right? So I don't emphasize with players who say, I didn't know, or I didn't read it, or, oh, I interpreted it that way when it's not, right? So these players know what to do, how to do. Now, with that said, these players also not used to having the rules of the dress code enforced that thoroughly. So having no jeans, right? If it's enforced from day one, I would say, okay, players can expect that to be every event or every major these FIDE events, but they are not used to that. So enforcing it one event, not enforcing it another, then again enforcing it, it's just too much variety. So we have to, especially with dress code, I think we need to be on a little bit more on the lenient side. um and so that's my personal take on it. Now, I always appreciated when people show up nicely. I dress up for events. I always wear a blazer and dress up nicely. I always appreciated when players dress up nicely. Gukesh always play dresses us up. Um, Wesley So always dresses up, and so on and so on. There are other players who might not, right? But, does it really
Leon is
affect
famous
me?
for his shirts, right? Aronian has these elaborate designs in his. I wonder if
Yes,
is that intentionally to get the eyes of his opponent hypnotized
yes,
some way when they look at him because his shirts are just like really involved. But
yeah. I
that's
think they
pretty
are used to
incredible.
it by now.
But that's interesting. Gukesh, you said, is he among the on the best dressed list for grandmasters?
Well, a Gukesh is always dressed nicely. All the Indians actually, I have never seen them dress sloppily. Even Hikaru and Fabi, they dress really appropriately. Yeah, sometimes they wear jeans.
Have you ever encountered a complaint about, oh, my opponent touched his piece? And then when you do touch a piece, can you move it anywhere before you punch your clock? Or is it once you set it down on the board or once your hand is released from the piece? What is your interpretation of that rule?
So touch move is a very often called rule because even high level players they accidentally touch it, or not accidentally, but they touch it and they realize it, and sometimes they just want to move something else, and they behave so fast, they move so fast that they just simply forget it. They know deep down it's wrong, but they just want to see, right? The last one was Anish, right? I wrote a blog post about this, and Anish was, yeah, it makes good content, right? And it didn't really matter in his game, but yeah, he tried to get away with touching the knight and then not wanting to move it. So it always happens, and it happens in club tournaments as well. uh, and mostly it happens under time pressure or a fast time control. That's what my usual take is. Now, if you touch a piece and then you have to move that piece, right? And if you release that piece at a square that's legal, you have to keep it there, right? But oftentimes players, what I see, even high level players, they touch the piece, they move it, they don't don't move it, they don't release it, and they move it back to the original square and then release it and think more. That's perfectly fine. And that's what confuses a lot of players, that, hey, he touched the piece and then he moved it back and didn't move it. Is he intending to move something else? No, he's not gonna move something else. He's gonna move that piece because he already touched it, but he released the piece in the original square that it was originally in. He's gonna move that piece, but he has time to think about it a little bit more. So that's what I see often, and that's confusing a little bit, but also is perfectly legitimate to do that.
How about that? I had no idea. So you can release the piece, think more about it, as long as you'd return to make that piece move. You can't choose a different piece, even though you haven't punched your clock. And it's nothing to
Yeah,
do with the clock. It's just
yeah.
punching the piece itself. That's
Yeah, and the
fascinating.
clock is that's when the move is over. So until you press the clock, the opponent cannot just move, right? It should it's not okay for the opponent to move until you press the clock, right? But like for example, you touch the queen, you move it side, then you say, "Oh, I want to think it more." I move back my queen in my original position. I can release it, think about it, and then touch my queen and either move back or move anywhere else until or if I move the queen. Okay, so
Let
yeah.
me ask you another technical question about three-move repetition. We know that three-move repetition is a draw. Is it true? Any truth to the rumor? You won't have to look this up, I hope. I could be wrong. That you need to have a score sheet that backs up your claim, and you need to demonstrate that to the arbiter, or can you just assume, I don't know if you're on stage, if the public is audience is watching, can you just assume if the player doesn't dispute it, for example? I mean, does it have to be written down?
So that's a very good question, and I get this question a lot, and I wish people would ask more. And I wish I can educate every single players, because once they understand this rule, there's a lot of headache that can be avoided. So first of all, it's not a threefold repetition, it's a threefold occurrence. So which move makes you the position three times? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether the bishop moves back or the king, or on on until or when the position occurred three times,
Mhm.
then you can claim a draw. Okay, now it has to be on the move of the same player. Okay, so if white it's the first two times it's the white's move that completes the third the position, then on the third time it has to be white's move that completes the third
Wow.
the
Did not know.
position. Okay, so if the first two times the white moves, that completes that position. So white moved and I have a position. Next time white move and I have the position. The next time black move and I have the same position. That's not a threefold occurrence, because it has to be on the same player on the move, or the same player just completed the move. So that's one thing. Second thing, as an arbiter, I usually go there and say, okay, I got a threefold occurrence claim. The very first thing I ask is to the opponent, this is a draw claim. This is essentially a draw for, do you accept it or not? And half of the time they don't want to take the trouble. Yeah, okay, I accept it. Okay, even if they don't think they might be, oh, it might be wrong, but they feel that it's drawish, right? And so they accept it. Now what happens when it's not drawish and players don't want to accept it, and they want to avoid the threefold, right, so that the opponent doesn't draw? That's when I turn back to the player and I do a few things. I actually ask for the score sheet. Yes. So yes, the answer is yes, they do need to have a completed score sheet. Without a completed score sheet in a regular time control tournament, I'm not going to accept the threefold claim. Okay. Rapid and blitz is different. Okay. But in regular classical time control, I need to have the score sheet. Second, I ask the player to mark the places where the three occurrence occurred. So it's on the player to prove to me where those threefold occurrence. It's not the arbiter's job to point, okay, it was in 48, it was in 53, and it's in 58 move, right? It's the player's responsibility to show the TD on that, and then TD will verify it. Okay.
Hmm. Wonderful.
Now,
Thank you for
how
clarifying
do
that.
we verify it? That's a very good question if you would ask that follow-up question, because oftentimes than not, we don't have a DGT board, right? And we don't have a computer or whatever. So I when we don't have a DGT board or of that game, we go to a separate board and we play out that position,
Wow.
play out the game from move one, right? And then we basically either take a picture or a mental picture, and both players are there, and then we see, okay, first position, second position, third position, and we play it out at a different board. And then if it's the same position, we accept the draw, right? I rule it's a draw. If it's not, then it's an incorrect claim, and then the opponent gets 2 minutes on the clock, added 2 minutes,
Okay.
extra minute.
That's fantastic. I'm going to
Yeah.
open this up to questions from the club members. Before I do, I had one other question in general, which is kind of a broad one. So feel free to summarize. But how has online chess changed some of the rules, if any, from offline chess? So we know over the board has its set of rules as you've just described. And now we're suddenly everybody's playing online, and we've heard things like two cameras, one on the player, an external camera on the room to make sure there's no cheating going on. Is that the responsibility of the arbiter to enforce those rules or to make sure that, cameras are being set up and things like that? How has online changed things, if at all?
That's a very good question. Um, I think we need to distinguish between chess rules and organizer guidelines or best practices. Okay. Chess rules, there are certain rules that are different in online chess than over the board chess. US chess lays this out very nicely. There are some very trivial ones, like online chess claims the threefold for you, right? You don't have to claim it, it automatically offers a draw, right? Or rules it a draw. Online chess, you cannot move illegally, right? So things like that, there are inherently different in online chess, right? But online chess also, you mouse slips happen, and we don't offer takebacks. So you have to accept the responsibility of mouse slips, or if internet is out, you have to accept the responsibility. Okay, I simply don't have internet to play with, so I cannot play. So those are I'm guessing more like chess rules and players' responsibilities. Now, when it comes to organizer responsibility, there are a few things that we have to pay attention to. First of all, it's it sounds very trivial, but I need to know if Judit Sztaray online user ID, Judit Sztaray is playing, that's actually me, and I need to know or the organizer need to know my US chess ID, right? Okay, I don't know what that is, but anyway. So, uh, if a US chess organizer wants to rate a US chess online event, we need to know who they are. So you need to know the players. You cannot just allow any random player, random account to play in your events. Okay, so that's rule number one. So I always used very closed clubs. I always invited the players who I know already knew their US chess IDs and things like that. Second, the cameras are important if you have high stake tournaments, okay, or stake or something is at stake, right? Usually, if it's a casual tournament with no stake, no prizes, just for fun, people less likely to cheat in a club club setting, in terms of, like, if you guys have an online club, you know each other, you know each other handles, you're not gonna cheat, because for no money on the stakes, why cheat, right? Now, money changes people, and money can bring out not so great behavior, and that's when we have to pay attention, right? And depending on what's at stake, whether that's money, whether that's national title, or whether that's qualification to something bigger, right? That's when the organizer should require certain level of measures, fair play measures, right? Yes, zoom camera, front facing zoom camera can be one thing. Having a side camera on the side that shows the the laptop, my keyboard, my area, my lap, or something like that is a one another thing. What we also do for high rated, high stake events is do one step further. We do an inspection. So we ask them, hey, show us around. I want to see not your mess. I don't care about the pile of dirty clothes in your corner, but I want to see where are the doors, where are who's in the room. If no one is in the room, where are the doors when you know, when someone comes in, things like that.
Hmm.
We also keep the microphone open, so that if someone hides in under the bed and say, hey, E4, E5, whatever, right? Then then I can hear that. And also what we do is, in Zoom, there's a function of share your screen, and not just the application, your entire desktop. And we make the players go through the task manager and see, do they have WhatsApp open? Do they have TeamViewer open? Do they have this and that, and all the chat functions and all the background softwares that we are a little bit suspicious of? We ask them to close. So they need to have all browsers or everything closed. And they scroll down the task manager. We have good eyes now, and we can spot and check this. And once they checked in, they should keep the cameras on, and then we are all good. If they turn off the camera, we have to do it all over again, and they know that. So,
Interesting. Well,
yeah.
I still have more questions, but I want to open it up. Does anybody here have a burning question that Eric, here's Eric, come on up.
And so, yeah, so first question, I guess, especially on the topic of so much of the online chess, and I think especially with the pandemic, we saw such a boom in people playing online. What has been, I guess, some of the impact in terms of people now coming, like people got started playing online chess and now they're coming to tournaments. So what are things as an arbiter, like the first things that you're very common, that you see these people going from online to over the board, that you're either having to necessarily correct or like, you know, just things that they should be aware of?
That's a very good question, and I get this a lot at mechanics. Arbiter. I work at Mechanics Institute Chess Club in San Francisco, and I love newcomers, and I always welcome them. The most common thing that new players ask is, I have to notate, really? I have to notate? I said, yeah, yeah, you do, right? And then I tell them, hey, try to notate. You know, if you're adult, you probably know how the board works. Just try notating, right? Or if you are ever in question, ask the score sheet from your opponent. So educating them around notation is the very first thing. Second thing, time control, right? They we have to tell them increment or delay. Online you can only use increment, right? So they usually don't know what a delay is. So we have to tell them delay is a stupid time control that US uses and none the rest of the world doesn't use. And I wish we wouldn't do delay. And that will be one of the main change at Mechanics Institute in 2026 that I'm pounding on, that get rid of the delay. Let's do increment. 5 second increment is good instead of 5 second delay. Let's have people used to increments and not delays, because they go outside and no one knows what's a delay. So time control and notation are the two main things. Illegal moves, right? When they used to playing online, again, they cannot move illegally, right? Even though you want to move the horsey in a totally different way, you cannot move it, right? In real life chess, it's so easy to move. And the most, not even move illegally, right? Wrong, like the knight move some other place or something, but also not realizing that the move makes it being in check, right? Or you're in check and you move something else. Those are the most common illegal moves, and they just don't know what to do. And what did I do wrong, right? And then, okay, yeah, you moved and you're still in check. You have to move out of check or block it or whatever. And how to handle that, and they get used to it, right? They get used to that. Opponent raises the hand, the opponent gets 2 minutes, and then things like that. So all good. And then the last thing is the report the result, right? Online chess, you don't need to report the result. It's all recorded. I have my fair share of new players just leaving, and I don't know what they played.
Interesting.
So
Next question. Anybody? I heard you say something about teaching them about notation. Goes back to my earlier question, which might have been confusing because it was comparing rapid chess to classical and so forth. But in general, is writing down moves in any something that you recommend or something that is, again, required to accompany the game?
So rapid and blitz, it's not required. As far as I know, I'm gonna research the hell out of it, but as far as I know, it's not required.
Okay.
Rapid, more often, like, excuse me. Rapid chess, I've seen people notate a little bit and then they stop, but no, we don't put it out. Yeah.
One thing I know you cannot do, and earlier in my chess playing experience, when I was in my teens or even younger days, I had an opponent who would write, it was notating, and would write down the move before he or she made the move. And it was almost like they were, it was a candidate move. They were testing it out. I could see it. They would, make it known. And then somewhere along the line, I think that it came down that, no, you can't do that because it's sort of like using notes. You're expressing, it's another way of thinking about it. I mean, theoretically, you could write down a whole line and not just the move, I guess, to see what that looked like. Is that true that you cannot write down the move you're thinking about before it's made?
Yes, that's correct, and that's the FIDE original FIDE rule. US chess used to allow you to move, write down the move first, and then they made aligned it with the FIDE rules, so you cannot write down the move. You have to make the move first, and then press the clock, and then write down your move. Yeah.
I noticed that you're wearing an Olympic shirt,
Yeah.
and in front of me we have Mac here who played for the Guam team in a couple of Olympiads. In which locations? Azerbaijan,
Nice,
Republic of
Baku.
Georgia.
Yeah,
2016 and
2016, Baku. Yeah.
About
Amy
Baku.
Kenmore was our arbiter that was training us.
Who was that?
Amy Kenmore from the Australian Federation.
Jamie Kinmore from Australia. Is that
Nice.
is
I
that
know.
something to do with the shirt that you're wearing, or you're wearing an esports shirt?
Yeah, this
You were
was
there, weren't you? Yeah.
this was 2020, 2023, the first, no, yes, 20, I think it was 2023 when the Olympic Committee, so the big Olympic Committee decided to do an esport Olympics, first time. It was an inaugural esport Olympics. It was in Singapore, 2023, end of June, and chess was part of it, and I was the deputy chief. So, um, I I I just happened to wear this t-shirt because this is what I found tonight, and now I like funny that we talk about. Yeah, but yeah, so it was
Dude,
a funny.
I want your frequent flyer miles because you must have the air.
One that you're thinking of is the Esport World Cup. It's a private endeavor. It's
Ah,
run by
okay.
the Saudis, Saudi Arabians, and it was in Riyadh, and that's where I was. And in end of July, it was a fantastic. Chess is one tiny small esport on the huge list of esports. It's a fascinating event, and they have a lot of money and a lot of interest, and the world of esport is so different and nothing I've seen. So I learned a lot, and I
What's
learned a lot about their operations, their back end operations, learned a lot that
Minecraft?
I tangible like useful suggestions that I can use at my events. So it was really, really useful.
I didn't hear it. To mention that you are the director of Chess Club Relations for chess.com. And if anybody has a question about chess.com, one question that I have is that Danny Wrench has done a lot of public speaking about the cheating scandal, especially on Title Tuesdays, which is, I
Yes.
guess, where it comes up, as you say, money changes behavior, which I think is true. But, I also have the feeling that just prestige changes behavior, and winning a game and increasing your rating for some my impression is that it's a status thing. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm curious, what is chess.com discovering? Is cheating, there is something happening, because sometimes I'll get an email that says, we discovered something going on in the background and we're giving you these points because your opponent apparently was cheating. Can you
Yes.
comment on any of this, on how frequently at the lower levels it's happening? Is it being addressed by your algorithm, or how is it being handled?
Yeah, I'm happy to. And there are certain things I can easily say, and there are certain things I cannot say, and there are certain things, a lot of things that I don't even understand. So, what I can easily say is that at lower level, unfortunately, cheating is happening, right? Because there are people who just make account, go there, cheat for a day, and then they get closed, and then they go and then make another account and
Ah,
continue. So unfortunately, these are happening, right? There's unfortunate nothing we can do about that except for trusting our algorithm that they catch it very fast. Now, our algorithm, there's so-called auto ban, automatically banning people based on statistics, right? So there are certain numbers that are constantly monitored, and oftentimes these stupid, I'm sorry to say, stupid cheaters, I don't even need to report them because the system already shut them down, right? So there's a lot of the bots, a lot of the players who are, or one of the people who are just taking joy out of ruining someone's day, these are getting caught, right? Now, when you go to higher level, the cheating is totally different, right? You're not just stupidly, mindlessly cheating and just ruining everyone's life, right? But they are cheating more smartly, right? Meaning that they don't cheat every move, or they only cheat very, very certain part of the game when it's crucial, or they strategically making bad moves and things like that. Now, chess.com invests a lot of money and a lot of manpower to constantly upgrade their algorithms and improving their algorithms and back end reports in order to detect anomalies and detect ways how people cheat and if a player cheated or not. So I mean, these are getting better and better. Every time there's a major update released, there are some more players, more title players closed, because it's not only the cheating that will occur in the future from that point, but they also can go back and analyze some more past games, and then they might figure out things. So that's when you see a higher number. It doesn't really necessarily mean, like, you know, the monthly report, you know that we do an open monthly report, right? And that monthly report should show you how many title players got closed. If that number is higher, it doesn't necessarily mean that they cheated on that month, right? It means that we have sufficient evidence in that month to close them. Okay. Uh, and lastly, I want to say that how many of you have heard about Proctor?
Proctor.
Proctor.
Mhm.
Proctor. So
Go ahead.
chess.com developed this new software. It's called Proctor. Basically, it's a software that you download, and you have to use your browser through this Proctor, and it's a very effective tool, replacing Zoom, to monitor player for fair play. So we are basically requiring all of the Title Tuesday player to use Proctor now, and we are requiring all the high stake prize money events, and soon enough we'll be requiring community championships, CCL, things like that. And that, not surprisingly, actually helps and decrease the number of fair play violations.
Is that something that, uh, do you know how it works roughly? I mean, does it,
Yeah.
that's not looking at the environment, is it looking at the accuracy? So somehow it seems like a telltale sign if the accuracy of a player who's rated 1600 or something is 100%, you know, that's kind of a sign that they may be using some third-party computer. Is that
But-
kind of thing?
So the accuracy is just one of the many, many, many numbers that we collect from a game, from a player. So accuracy is a very easy number that anyone can see. And if you have a 99.9% accuracy, that doesn't mean you're cheating, right? So, or your opponent is cheating. So there's a lot more that goes into it, right? Proctor helps chess.com store the browser history, like the screen that the players is playing, chess.com events, like it helps. So it's basically essentially Zoom recording, screen recording, right? But or screen share, but in a different environment. And it also helps putting the screen, putting the browser recording and the cameras, or both the front facing and the side facing cameras, tie into one person, so that it's much easier to use those information. Because if Zoom, if you share the screen and you start recording, you have to have, and as an admin, you have to rotate through the shared screens in order, and you can only record one screen at a time. So if you have 8 shared screens, you cannot record all 8 at once. So there are some software limitations with Zoom.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so one, obviously, I'm sure Kramnik is helping you on your anti-cheating, so that's good. But also,
Of course.
of course. But I guess the question I have for you personally, like, what is the most like awkward, I think contentious, I guess moment that you've had as an arbiter in terms of either what somebody has made or something that you have observed?
Well, I guess the most interesting one, and I want to give him a credit. I know Hans Niemann. Hans Niemann is the bad boy, right? And everyone, and he plays on this role, right? But when the Speed Chess Championship happened in Paris a year ago, or a little bit more than a year ago, and he said that his mouse was lagging, everyone was saying, no, he's just you know, he's just complaining, whatever, right? And even I thought that, but no, actually he was right. He was right and we were wrong, and his mouse was lagging because we were running Zoom on his computer and we were running it for many, many hours, and the whole computer becomes slower. So he was not lunatic, right? It's and so at that point, I yeah, the tone that he's communicating is not the best. I known him since he was little because he lived in San Francisco Bay Area, and that probably helped us communicate a little bit more effectively. But I that so it taught me that when players are complaining about technical difficulties, I shouldn't say, "Oh, that's not happening, that's not correct, you're just imagining it." I always approach it that, yeah, you're probably right, let me try to reproduce it, because if I can reproduce it I can report it, or if you have evidence, give me the evidence and I can do something. So it doesn't answer your question perfectly, but it's a good example of I don't think players are inherently making up stuff to get ahead, right? So
But also probably especially good to keep in mind, especially they might sue you for $100 million. So also like, doubly good to keep in mind.
and
Right.
yeah, that's the other thing, right? So e- like the EWC, right?
Yeah.
Magnus was playing perfectly, and then all of a sudden he made a really rudimentary blunder. Like, how? And we were all looking at him and said, like, not him, but in the back, look at each other in the back and said, did Magnus really did that accidentally, or did he do it on purpose? And it was a meaningless loss, right? He was leading like 6-0 and whatever, and he needed, I think, 8 points or 7 points or 7.5 or something. It didn't mean anything. But let's say, did something, did a bet, like, did this influence a bet outside of the small arena outside, which influenced many, money? So we looked into that a lot, but ended up not finding obviously any evidence. It's hard and it goes totally against any of Magnus's character in terms of being able to be bought for any bets and everything. But yeah, these are the money does make people crazy.
I know that's an excellent thank you, Eric. Great question. Getting back just for a second as we wrap up here to chess.com. I wanted to ask you, kind of similar to Eric's question about the biggest challenge you face there, not to bring out or dwell on anything negative, but one thing that's interesting, I know that when chess.com purchased Magnus's companies, they acquired chessable.com for one. Chesskid.com is for players under the age, is it 13 that
Yeah.
recommended? I don't know how, there may be other properties as well. Is there some thinking about if you join chess.com at a certain level that maybe you get access to Chessable, or is there any other connection between these different properties? I think is Chess 24/7 another Jan Gustafsson's? Did they buy that? Is that included in the package? And is there any synergy between all of those that you are involved with?
So
Multi-part question.
no, that's a really great question. A little bit of correction. So chess.com and ChessKid were always one company.
Right.
There are two. The ChessKid is a sister or a sister company, but well, or sister branch, but they are one company that has always been. When chess.com purchased Play Magnus, yes, there were a bunch of companies that came with that. Chess24 was one of them, Chessable was one of them, Aim Chess was one of them, and so on and so on. New in Chess was one of them, for example, because at that time New in Chess was property of Play Magnus. Since then, New in Chess, departed and parted ways. Play Magnus Academy, a really great East Coast organization in the Washington, I think they are in the Washington DC area. They're fantastic people. I love them. They were acquired, or they were a part of Play Magnus, and then they got part of chess.com, and then they left. So so there are companies who are parting ways with chess.com, and there are companies that are here to stay. For example, Chessable. Now, Chessable is a very interesting company, or part of the big company, because it's very specifically tailoring to people who want to learn and want to spend on learning. So it's a tough business for them, because chess.com already has, I think, quite high membership prices. So not a lot of people want to pay more, but they do have good courses. They do have good offerings. We recently launched chess.com/courses, which is sort of a first step in integrating Chessable with chess.com. And the way to do that is that when you purchase an opening course, for example, you learn that opening course, and then you do the drills and whatever, and you go on chess.com, play. Chess.com game review would actually tune into, hey, you made a mistake here, go back in this course and relearn this one. Or, hey, I see that you played this opening, you haven't learned this, these are the recommended courses. So it would communicate between the two offerings, the two ways, a little bit better, and a lot more. I'm not a Chessable team member, so I don't know all the details, but it has a really great potential if you're really invested in your learning. So if you're a diamond member on chess.com, you do have access to some of the courses that are free for diamond members. So definitely check it out if you have diamond membership. Uh, and I also know that they want to expand that. And you have, I think, some percentage off. If you're a diamond member on chess.com, you get some discounts on courses that are not free on on Chessable, so something like that. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much. That's very, and is the integration of the courseware with the playing, and if you make a mistake playing, it will refer you back to the chess course. Is that for chess.com/courses, or is that Chessable in altogether, or is it specifically for those courses that you have imported or combined with
I
Chessable?
wish I have the answer for that. I don't know.
A
I
hypothetical something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no,
Okay.
it's not hypothetical. I know that they are working on it. I just don't know the answer to your question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can ask that, and I can
Okay.
definitely find out, but I just don't know. I just don't know.
And can I ask you, I can't ask you who your favorite grandmaster is because you're not allowed to show favoritism, right?
I know I can tell you right away.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's Wesley So.
Really?
Wesley So is
I,
my
I, I like Wesley myself. Is it what do you like best? But he's so humble and
he's
genuine.
he's humble, he's always so nice. He 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 remembered my name right away, and he's the kind of player who knows that without arbiters there would be no tournaments. So if he talks at any of the tournaments at the end or something, he always thanks the arbiters by name. So and he lists every single arbiter. He's not doesn't only list the chief arbiter, he lists every single arbiter. He's like, as an arbiter, it warms my heart to know that there are players who recognize that yes, they are the stars, absolutely, but you need the arbiters to make your norm, or you need the arbiters to rate your game, right? Or things like that.
Yeah.
So
Last but not least, you are coming here to Puget Sound
yes,
you're coming to Bellevue in Thanksgiving, if I
Yes.
understand correctly,
Well,
from
before.
Hungary to Bellevue. You're not getting any frequent flyer miles, it sounds like. I don't know where those are going, but and that is. Can you tell us why and what's going on?
Yeah, so Susan Polgar, she's a good friend, and I've been involved with her events for quite a few years now. First, I started kids events, and then the Spice Cup. The Spice Cup was run at first at Texas, then at Webster for many years, and first time ever, it's coming up to Seattle. So it's very exciting, and I'll be running Spice Cup this year as well, and I've been blessed to be the chief arbiter for that for a number of years, and I'm looking forward to it this
Spice
year
Cup
as
is a FIDE event that I believe there's 4 grandmasters who are participating.
well. Hopefully more. Hopefully
Oh,
we get a
hopefully
lot
more.
more. So the registration is still open. It's an open event. Um, it's a norm event, so people, if they fulfill, then they can earn norms. So it's a 9 round norm event, federated norm event, and we usually have quite a few title players, many grandmasters. I don't know how many players we're gonna have this year. Usually at Webster, we got around 60, 70 players. We sometimes made the Super Swiss, we sometimes didn't. Super Swiss is a special category when you have enough grandmasters and enough federations. Then one of the requirement for making the grandmaster norm or the international master norm is waived. So it's worth it to work, but you do need a lot of title players
I
for
know
that.
that Alex, Garrett, and Andy are looking forward to making norms. Yes, pretty much. So we're
Yeah.
candidates. Michael also, we get them. And by the way, the fact that Wesley remembers your name, your name is hard to pronounce. I wasn't sure how to pronounce it. Whether the Y at the end was a long I sounded like Zatarai or Zatari, or the Z is silent.
It's an
Okay.
E. Z is silent. So I would say think of a ray of stars and star ray,
All
something.
right. Thank
Yeah.
you. Oh, okay. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I can't tell you what a thrill you should go and do this everywhere because
Thank you.
this such incredible information that I had no idea that can actually win games for people or lose them depending on what they know. But aside from the rules of chess, so it really fantastic. I think
Yeah.
that probably wraps things up. But we will look for you online. You say that you have a blog. Is that correct that you are posting to?
Yes. Yes, I actually, if I share my screen, would you guys be able to
Sure.
see?
Oh,
So I do have a blog. It's under my username. So these are my blogs. That's a draft, so don't see that.
on chess.com.
Yes, on chess.com. So chess.com/blog/ my name.
Okay.
Recently, I wrote about prison chess. My good friend Abel volunteers every week at San Quentin, which is
Wow.
a very, very high security prison in near San Francisco. But they are lovely people, and I've been there before. It's really great to see. So if you want to read about, and that's Abel, my good friend. If you want to read about that one, I blogged about esport, about the girls invitational. Here's the touch move. If you want to read more about the touch move, I did include the Anish's video in that one
Ah,
because it's a very funny one because here you see he hoovered over
uh-huh.
and then I was thinking about and
Did he touch it? Did he touch
then
it? Oh,
he touched it and said, hey, you touched it, and the called the arbiter, and the arbiter used a little camera that was pointed to the game. So,
Uh-huh.
and he said, can we check it? Can we check it? So anyway, you know, take a look at it.
Crazy. Yeah, yeah.
And here's the slow motion. I love the slow motion video. It's you know, it's really cool because he was hovering over.
It almost looks, oh, wow. It's like,
Yeah, right. If slow motion, it's
the
clear.
first one. It's like a NBA foul or something like,
Yeah, exactly.
it's like
Anyway,
it happened.
so go back and there are other blogs. You know, Ruth Herring. I don't know how many of you heard about Ruth Herring, first over the board tournament and things like that. So yeah.
And your daughter congratulations, just graduated law school, if I have that
Yes.
right, in Paris. And, well, can we give a round of applause to Judith?
Thank
And
you.
I
Thank
can't
you.
thank you enough. You've been very generous with your time.
Of
Continued
course.
success, and we'll follow you on your blog and hopefully see you again soon. Maybe in
Thank
Seattle.
you.
We'll see
Yeah,
you
and hopefully see you, many of you in at
COVID.
SPFNO, and there will be some side events. So hopefully you guys play there, and then we can meet. Okay, so come
Awesome.
say hello to me. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.